Regan Slaymaker for International Boxing News, and I have the pleasure to be joined by now promoter Charlie Sims. Charlie, thank you for the invite today for the huge Boxing Media Day, but my first question, how are you, mate?
Really good, thanks for coming, Regan. We've known each other quite a while, and it's nice to be sitting, still the same size, but just a different story to tell.
Definitely, mate, as well, and it's nice to catch up with you in person and not on a Zoom interview. But you're back from LA, back in Essex, mate, and first show, December the 13th. Talk to me. Why was it the right time to move into, for yourself and your dad to move into promoting?
Yeah, this has been the big question. Why? Because we've been around boxing for such a long time. I've been doing management at high level for the last decade. Tony's been a high-level coach and manager for the last 30 years. We've been all around the world together, world championship fights. And I think actually you're the first person to mention LA. When I was in LA for 2 years, kind of had a bit of an epiphany. And I was kind of thinking, if I come back to boxing, what's this going to look like for me? What's it going to look like if I come back to the UK? And I really thought hard and long about storytelling. And when you're in Hollywood and amongst all of that, storytelling is everything, filmmaking, and so I really honed in on that whilst I was there. And I was like, if I compare that up with the sport that I love, maybe we can do something really different and really cool. And that's basically what this is. Huge Boxing is the promotional company, but we are storytellers expressing ourselves through the art of boxing. And every fighter, every champion has a story. I just think sometimes it gets missed or lost because boxing's the Wild West. And what I'm trying to do is provide a really cool, long-form series of events that can help fighters start somewhere, get to where they want to be, at any level that is. It could be area level, domestic champion, European, world championship status, unified, undisputed, whatever you want to be. But I just want to take somebody from the beginning, somebody like George Liddard, who's going to challenge for his first title on this event to be announced soon. Someone like Jimmy Sains, 7-0, 7 KOs, really at the beginning of his journey. Maiseyrose, who rolled the dice in her last fight. I think, women's boxing, as we know, it can be far and few between levels. And was that a step too far for her? Was it a bit premature for her? And the answer was yes. But this platform, Origins, is going to give her the opportunity to rebuild, improve, grow, and come back again in 2025. Same for Shannon Ryan. She rolled the dice in her last fight, British Commonwealth Championship. Nothing wrong with that. But give yourself the opportunity to go back to the gym that's where all the work counts. Go back to the gym, get back to improving, get back to working hard, and come out on our show. And then give yourself the opportunity in 2025 now to go back onto the big stage. And Origins is exactly that. It's about the beginning and the foundations of boxing. And for all different reasons on this show, bouncing back, first title challenge, whatever it is. And that's what I love about this series. And I want to see more of these Origin shows. I want to see Jimmy, George headlining more of these shows until they break through to that next chapter, which I explained, which was Destiny. Domestic titles, Copper Box, that kind of bigger arena stuff. And then when you've done that and you've conquered the domestic scene, you go on to legacy. And we spoke a bit about Conor Benn in there earlier. He's kind of gone through those levels. He's top 5 in the world. He's looking for that world title fight. He's looking to fight somebody like Chris Eubank, which is a complete legacy fight. So we have the structure now of following these fighters from beginning right through to the end. And I think that's something that boxing's missed. We're very used to seeing one event, all following that event, and then when that event is done, it shuts down, and then we move on to the next event. I want to see a long-form series, so that's what I'm trying to create, and we'll debut that 13th of December at your call.
Definitely, mate. I'm thoroughly looking forward to it as well. And I do want to touch on December 13 and kind of the Origins tagline. I've spoken to your dad in the gym when I've been doing my one-to-ones with him, and he kind of said there's nothing better than taking that fighter from from 0-0, from debut to that world title level. I think Joe Cordina is one of the perfect examples of that, who's come through the gym. But you've got three talents here who, and I don't just say it because George has just walked into the room, but cheers, George. And I'm not just saying it because he's just walked into the room, but you've got George Liddard, Jimmy Sains and Maiseyrose Courtney, for my opinion, are three of the best prospects in the country, let alone in the world as well. And you yourself and your dad are taking them from debut level all the way to title contention as well. That must be a nice feeling to know that that's the plan for them.
Yeah, and Tony Sims has been one of the best and most successful trainers for the last decade, because he has understood how to take talent from a good amateur level and how to transition them into world-class pros, give them their own style, not just his style. And we're starting to see, I was talking earlier about Darren Barker. He had him from his debut right through to those British, Commonwealth, European world title night that we still talk about today. Joe Cordina was the same. He took on Kevin Mitchell, had Kevin Mitchell from a very young age, took him on. They went and fought Linares where he felt short, but also brought Ricky Burns back. He was a two-division world champion. Really, everybody said he was down and out. He came into Tony Sims' gym, he took him, and he knew exactly what he needed to do to make him a three-division world champion. Joe Cordina, a two-time world champion. Anthony Joshua on his world championship journey, and John Ryder, didn't quite make it, but got as close as you can get, and mixed it with the absolute best. His night down in Guadalajara in front of 60,000 Mexicans with undisputed champion Canelo. In terms of the experience that Tony Sims has got, all of these young fighters coming through, George Liddard, Jimmy Sains, Maiseyrose Courtney, Ramtin Musah, you've got Shona Whitwell just joined our team, who will be announced very soon. They have no excuse to make it as long as they put the work in, as long as they listen and they follow the advice and the work Tony Sims gives to them. They've all got a shot. What our platform is, and which is why we wanted to do this, was to keep people active. Boxing's become a place now on the big platforms where everybody wants to be fighting on DAZN, on Sky, on TNT. But the problem with that is there's limited slots. And sometimes you have to get into a 50-50 fight. And sometimes it can be premature. We found that out with Maiseyrose last time out. Now she has the opportunity to bounce back, come onto the Origin shows. She's getting back in the gym, back to work, back to listening to Tony Sims and John Ryder, who's been a fantastic addition to her team. They've been working together really, really well since John's been coaching her. And I expect us to see a completely different version of Maiseyrose, and I expect her to have a really huge 2025. And she is capable of going on and achieving great things, but she just fell short. And this show, this event, this platform is going to give people the opportunity to bounce back.
It definitely is as well. Let's talk about Shona Whitwell and Ramtin Musah as well. Two very fresh additions to the team, but two that are going to slot into the gym environment very well as well, and obviously taking them to new heights as well.
Yeah, I feel like, probably in the summer the gym was a little bit shaky. We had some people move around, and we was kind of transitioning from those older kind of fighters from like Cordina, Felix Cash, John Ryder, them kind of guys were all moving around, and it was kind of, where is this going now? Do we want to look at doing a new cycle? How do we rebuild this? Or do we just want to finish off with the job that we're doing with Conor Benn maybe, and see where that goes? And we made the decision to obviously rebuild that gym, and right now I'm telling you, in 2025 that gym will be one of the hottest stables in the country again. I think Tony Sims has had multiple hot stables, but this time I think it's going to be one of the hottest stables again.
Definitely, and I couldn't agree more as well. December the 13th, obviously you get Shannon Ryan and Paddy Donovan as well, other matchroom boxing stable, but yeah, two great fighters. It's a massive coup to get them on your platform as well.
Yeah, and that comes down to our relationship with Matchroom too. It's no secret that we've got a very strong relationship with them. They've been very supportive. Actually become a good outlet for them as well. They were struggling for slots towards the back end of this year. And they very kindly asked if they could put Shannon Ryan on, who's bouncing back from her British and Commonwealth defeat last time out, but also scheduled for a big fight early next year, so she needs to get back to winning ways. And Paddy Donovan, who's been sensational and was brilliant last time out, and he's going to come all the way from Ireland to make his York Hall debut, and he's got a big fight lined up with, what I'm being told, is with Crocker. So, you know, he'll be gearing up for that, a big 2025 for both of them. But super happy. You know, I've spoken to Paddy and Andy Lee. They're very excited about what we're doing. Andy Lee has been on the phone about Paddy's brother Jim, and wants to potentially look at bringing him either on this show or some future stuff that we're doing, which is really great because I'm also a big fan of Andy Lee. You know, in that era, you know, it was kind of like Andy Lee, Darren Barker, Martin Murray, Matt Macklin. You know, I love all of them guys. So anytime I get the opportunity to speak to someone like Andy, I have a bit of a fanboy moment. But yeah, love hearing from him that he's enjoying what he's seeing with us and what we're doing. And you know, Shannon's been lovely. She's been great to work with. We're going to have a really big week with her next week in terms of going a bit more in depth on her story, her journey, and I've really enjoyed spending time with her, so I'm excited to have both of them on the card.
Definitely, mate, as well. You mentioned kind of the personal aspect of all these fighters. I saw an article, I think Bill Moran wrote From Angel to Guadalajara, the story about John Ryder. I mean, a lot of people thought he beat Callum Smith that night in Liverpool, so unfortunate not to get the decision. But John is one of those people who has done everything that you possibly can in the sport. We get getting so close to the world title, but he had the opportunities there for him, and also kind of, I mean, my favourite moment, I've still got the ticket in my boxing, international boxing boxer, when he beat Danny Jacobs, when I paid for a ticket to go to that show. I mean, just talk to me about the story of John Ryder being first hand, being a part of that story.
Yeah, I mean, John Ryder was my first real professional boxing client where I actually got involved on the pro management side and started talking about negotiating with Eddie and like what contracts look like, what purses look like. So, and this was at a time where he was coming off of a loss to Nick Blackball, and he was kind of rebuilding himself. And my first real dealings with him was for the Jack Arnfield fight. That was my first fight that I made with him, and we'd already agreed a 2-fight deal. So Jack Arnfield beat him, and then you're going to fight for the European title next. And the European champion, in my opinion, at the time, can't remember who it was, but I remember being very very positive, like that he was going to win, you know. So it was just a case of getting through the Arnfield fight, getting to the European title fight, and then we're on our way. Well, Jack Arnfield spoiled the party because it was really quite a bad night in the office for John. Although I did think he nicked that fight. He lost on a split to Jack Arnfield. But when you look at the levels that John went on to achieve when he moved up in weight to super middleweight, it was actually quite clear that he just couldn't do the weight at middleweight. So yeah, we did that fight, moved up, fought Adam Etches at super middleweight, and had a really brilliant display on ITV. And then, you know, the kind of ball got rolling again. We fought Rocky Fielding, fell short that night, which I thought John won again. One of those ones where you're like, are we ever going to get a Robert de Green here? And had to rebuild, got the call to fight Patrick Nielsen. Do we really want to fight Patrick Nielsen coming off the back of a loss to Rocky Fielding? But Patrick Nielsen was WBA #1 at the time, and he was on a away show. He was the away fighter. Really, they brought John in as a warm-up fight, and bam, knocked him clean out. It was probably the best night in boxing I've ever had, because I've never wanted somebody to win so bad. And yeah, he knocked Patrick Nielsen out, and then obviously put himself in a fantastic position, got a final eliminator, boxed Akaway in Vegas on the Canelo Jacobs undercard, boxed the Russian guy in a final eliminator at Wembley, and yeah, Jacobs, that was a brilliant night. Callum Smith, we fell short, but what a performance that was. You know, nobody expected. And this was at a time where Callum Smith was knocking everybody out. He knocked out George Groves, he knocked out Hassan and Dan, and John Ryder was next in line, and everybody gave John Ryder no chance in that fight. And I think that was the moment where everybody stood up and said, yeah, I think John's capable of going on and doing something. Just no one really wanted to fight John. And you know John, he's a man of few words, and sometimes I don't think he does himself justice by putting himself out there, building himself up, telling everyone that he's the best. But John did it his way, and John was part of that era where, you know, he was a real gentleman, and he didn't feel like he needed to shout about it or smack talk anyone. He let his boxing do the talking, and it worked for him. And he got the ultimate prize at the end. He beat Jacobs, and then he got the Canelo fight at the end. And what a performance that was. And although he fought Munguia afterwards, I think everybody will remember him for the 12-round war down in Guadalajara in front of 60,000 fans with Canelo Alvarez. And I think also some people in life, although he didn't achieve his goal of being a world champion as a boxer, he set himself a new goal, and that's to have a world champion as a trainer. And I'm excited for his journey, and also he's part of our family. And I said to him the other day, I'm not actually 100% sure you've retired yet. I said, is there any way we can get you back out? And he said, absolutely not. No, I'm not, never fighting again. So I said, even if maybe we get the call from Turkey at Riyadh? And he said, no, I'm definitely not fighting anymore. So I said, okay, fair enough.
John Ryder, KSI and Misfits, why not? We want to see it, Charlie. And can I just say, John, as good as a fighter he was, and world class level fighter, but even better man as well. It's fair to say. I do want to touch on Conor Benn as well. Excellent news by being cleared of any wrongdoing by the National Anti-Doping Panel. Still a lot of scepticism around kind of the appeal process afterwards, but excellent news for everyone in the Team Benn business.
Yeah, I was talking about this earlier, like, obviously that everybody keeps saying what's next, and you know, what does this mean for Conor Benn? I think until this appeal process is completely over, we don't actually know. What we do know is that it went to the highest body, which is the National Anti-Doping Panel, and they looked at both cases and they favoured it in Conor Benn. So, you know, we have to take what they say and respect what they say, because they're the ultimate body. And Conor Benn has gone through a long, probably terrible 2 years, really, and I'm glad that he's on his way of seeing some light at the end of the tunnel. Probably got about a week to go until we actually know this is completely over, but hopefully it will be, and we can just see him getting back to what he does best, and that's just boxing. And he is a brilliant fighter, box office every time. We want to see those big fights, whether it's with Eubank next in a 60,000 Tottenham Hotspur stadium, or a Wembley at 80,000, or he looks at fighting Barrios, you know, and goes for that WBC world title, which he definitely has in his sights. He wants to emulate his father. He wants to win a world title. So a couple of really good options there. But every time Conor Benn fights, he's just box office, and super excited to have him back. But let's get this process completed and finished, and then everybody can start talking about what's actually next.
Definitely, and I for one hope it's over soon, because I think it's one of, just speaking kind of looking from the outside, kind of it's a case that has been stretched out when other people have pleaded guilty and got away with silly bans. Conor's done the completely opposite and trying to prove his innocence, and he's getting slated for it, which is absolutely crazy to me. But less said about that, the better. Charlie, I'm very aware that we've spoken for about 20 minutes today, mate. But any final words ahead of your massive promoting debut on December the 13th?
Yeah, just super excited about it. We've had a brilliant turnout today. Again, we're just trying to do something different. So for everybody who's watching, tune in. Broadcast deal will be announced, hopefully in the next week. Been an interesting process, actually. When you first do a show like this, you don't know where it's going to get broadcasted, and we've had a few really good offers, but I think that's purely because of the strength of the card. And we'll be announcing that next week, so no doubt we'll catch up again. But super excited to get the first one under the way, and tune in.
Definitely. George Liddard headlining his first title. Jimmy Sains carrying on his KO streak. Maiseyrose Courtney returns, as does Shannon Ryan. Paddy Donovan. Julia Lee looks to move 3-0. Dorian, heavyweight contender on the card as well. And Indabassi returns from his loss to Sean Noakes. Charlie Sims, thank you very much, mate. Cheers.